you can add some pizzazz to your iOS photos and have fun doing it. I'm going to show you how on this next episode. Hey everyone, Tim Brown. Welcome back to another episode of My Apple Podcast. That's right. If you want to add some pizzazz to your photos, I'm going to cover an application that's going to let you do that and more. And you're just going to have a lot of fun. And it's called Repix by Sumoing Ltd. Let's take a look. I'm going to open it up on my iPad. This application is a universal app. This application lets you do so much with your photos and basically just have so much fun. You can be creative. The possibilities are endless. So let's take a look. This is the interface, and you'll see you have tools along the bottom, and you access your library by selecting the icon in the top left corner. You see that brings up another menu. You can actually access some starter photos, go to the store, or just browse to your camera roll, which is what I'm going to do. I'm actually going to go ahead and browse down to an album that I have set up of bizarre collages, and I'm going to bring in one of those collages that I created. Let's first start with the basic features. I'm going to go to the first icon on the bottom left, and as you can see here, this is an option for filters. You shouldn't be that unfamiliar with this type of option in terms of the types of filter effects that you can add. You see them in Instagram, you see them in Facebook, you see them in almost every application that is designed to add filters to your photos. And you can just go through and just select the ones that you want to add depending on the effect that you want. It's really that simple. It's pretty straightforward as far as the filters go. Let's move on over to the next icon, which is the adjustment tool. And this is where it gets more interesting and fun because you begin to use gesture controls to control how you add color, brightness, temperature, and so forth. So right now we're looking at brightness and contrast. When I spread my finger over to the right, you see that a bar appears. And the further to the right I go, the brighter it gets. The further to the left I go, the darker it gets. Let's move over to the next one. Contrast, same thing. Move your finger across the surface of the iPad and the contrast gets stronger. Move back to the left and the contrast gets lighter. I'll just go through each one. This is saturation, same thing. To the right. Vibrant, same thing. To the right. If you want it vibrant, less vibrant, to the left. Temperature, same thing. To the right, it gets warmer. To the left, it gets a little cooler. And then finally, Vignette. With Vignette, when you move to the right, the Vignette gets stronger until it reaches 100%. Or move to the left to lighten the Vignette. So you gotta love the gesture controls that are built into this as well. I'm going to skip the middle one because that's the best part. And I'm going to go to frames. Tons of frames that are at your disposal. And you just go through and select the thumbnail options that are available. You'll have a chance to play around with this. As you can see, there are many frames to choose from. And then there's cropping. Cropping gives you basically the option to crop it in any format you want. You can keep the original format of the photo. You can customize it, which is selected now. And I can just basically drag this any kind of way I want, depending on how I want to frame it. That's custom. You can choose 1:1, which is the basic format for Instagram, 4:3, which is standard definition, 16:9 widescreen, so forth. So you get the idea. And now let's go back to the center tool, which is where you have all the fun. I'm actually going to get rid of the frame for the moment. And then go back to the center tool, which is the pencil tool. And with the pencil tool, you'll see that you have all these sort of marker sort of icons along the bottom, and they each represent a different effect that you can add to your picture. And one thing that I kind of like about this too is that it's skeuomorphic. It's something that Apple got away from as far as how they designed their apps in iOS 7. I still like skeuomorphism, and here you actually have virtual markers that feel like actual markers that you would add if they were physically in your hand. Only thing, these markers come with magical effects. There's just so many things that you can do. So I'm going to go through each one just so you can see just how much fun you can have. The first one, flares. With flares, you just rub your finger across the surface and you see that you add these colored dots or flares. Second one, hearts. You can just rub your finger across the surface and hearts begin to appear. And you can see my finger is way beyond the periphery of the picture, and everything is just sort of flying across the surface. And you can just stop when you think the hearts are just right. If it doesn't seem to take or land in the areas where you want it to land, then just hit the undo button. But you have to love the graphics and the animation, how everything just comes in, and how it comes in and conforms to the tonality of your picture. Dandelions. Dandelions do the same thing. They fly all over the place, and they just land where you stop. And it's such a beautiful effect. And it takes on the effect or tonalities of the picture again, which is really cool. Magic dust. Magic dust is just that. It's magic dust. It drops magic dust all over your picture. Really cool. I'm actually going to undo that and try that one more time. Magic dust. See how it just flies all over, and you can just stop when you think it's just right. It's just so much fun. I told you this app was fun. And then there's Bouquet. You're familiar with that. Those are the circular colored transparent circles that you can add to your picture. They usually come as options that are prefixed, but here you can actually drag them along just like you do all the other options, and then stop where you want to stop. I'm going to undo and try that one more time. Next, Raven. You're going to love this. Raven basically sends out these flying ravens. Actually, they even in three dimensions. I mean, some of the ravens really feel like they're coming right at you. Watch this. So I'm dragging my finger along the surface, and here come the ravens. And as I move them around, they fly in 3 dimensions. Some are coming towards you, some are coming away from you. And then you can just decide, at what point you want to stop to add the ravens. So it kind of freaks you out at times, but it's, it could be a really nice effect depending on what you're working on. So much fun. Here's glow smoke. And it basically adds a nice glow to your picture. That'll come in handy sometimes. I think I'm just going to add that at the bottom right. Stars. You can add stars. It's very similar to the other effect that I added earlier. Just adds that little sparkly little effect with different colors. Really cool. And then there's Sparkler. Sparkler is pretty cool too because it adds this sparkle sort of sand effect. Very similar to glow smoke, just a little thinner. I'm going to undo because I don't think I want to add that right now. There's also glow line, and then scratches. Scratches speaks for itself. Just add scratches to your photo. So you can just scratch. And then there's dust. Kind of dust off the picture. It has this nice little light, little flavor to it. Depending on the picture, it really works well. Stains, same thing. Stains the image, brings it up a little lighter. There are tags. Tags are like graffiti tags. Cracks. Cracks give it more pronounced sort of textured surface than, say, the stains or the scratches. So as you can see here, as I'm applying, it's really roughening up the surface. Posterize, real subtle, added it to the top right corner there, just darkened up the area just a little bit. Silk. Silk speaks for itself. It smooths everything out so it feels like silk. I'm going to apply silk to the facial area. And you see that it starts to eliminate the details and gives you more of a soluble, soft, round kind of feel. I'm actually going to undo that and try that in the background here. It's just going to simplify the area. Then there's Dotter. Dotter is good. It may not work as well in this picture, but it gives it that halftone effect. If you like halftone, it gives you that texture. You can see I'm beginning to add it along the top, and it seems to be working really well. Then there's Edger. Edger basically gives it that edge. If you need that crispness somewhere, like where the tie is, yeah, I want some crispness there around the shoulder or the arm. Yeah, bring that crispness right back in. Then there's Legacy. Legacy gives it that oomph, starts to pull things out. There's Sepia. Sepia speaks for itself. It gives it that brown tonality if you need to tone things down just a bit, especially in the background, which is what I'm doing now. And then there's Hollywood. Hollywood means what? The stars come out in Hollywood, it's going to brighten it up. It's going to give it that Hollywood effect. And then there's Vintage. Vintage speaks for itself again. It has a more of an aged kind of a look, and you've used this effect a lot in some apps. I just applied it in certain areas along the top. There's Freshen. Freshen basically freshens it up, makes it pop. I'm going to go into the face and just pop that out a little bit, maybe in the center as well. Just pop out that shirt. Really works well. And then there are drips, and this is where you get a little bold because the drips are going to change your image quite a bit because it's going to add drips everywhere. I mean, Jackson Pollock style. If I start adding drips, I'm just going to be very selective. I'm just going to tap with my finger and add the drips at different places because you can go berserk with the drips. And like, for example, if I went all over, you can see I can cover my whole picture with drips, which I don't really want to do. I'm just going to be very selective with the drips. Cool though, huh? And then there's charcoal. Charcoal basically gives it kind of like a pastel effect. It softens things up. It gives it that charcoal effect. And there are times when you're going to want that. Then there are daubs. Daubs are very similar to the drips. They're just a little bit more refined. But you can still see the texture as you're applying them. So I'm going to apply them along the top. As you can see, they're like little daubs. Gives your picture that texture that you may be looking for. Then there's Van Gogh. Van Gogh's cool too because Van Gogh gives you that texture. You ever seen Starry Night and you see how the paint swirls around in the sky? Well, it gives you that same texture. And I'm going to go ahead and begin applying Van Gogh. And you can see it gives you that little brush mark kind of effect. You know, almost kind of like as if you're painting like this with your brush. That's what it does. It gives you that Van Gogh effect. And then we have hatching. Hatching is more for subtle type images where things will start to appear to have these very fine hatch marks. And it's hard to see in this image here. But it works well in photographs. Spray. Spray is like airbrush. You know, if you want to airbrush your image, really make it soft, just apply some airbrush as I'm doing to the top here. And you see everything's getting soft up top. I'm going to apply a little bit down to the bottom too. All right, so now I got some contrast there. And then there's chalk. Chalk gives it that chalk effect. It's very similar to airbrush, but a different kind of effect because it's chalk. It's softening things up like pastel. And then there's the undoer. Undoer basically lets you go and undo everything you've done. I mean, every effect that you've added, it will undo it. So for example, it's getting cluttered along the bottom. So I can actually go in and just start erasing the bottom part to bring out some clarity, and then toward the center, you can get rid of some of that bouquet just to add some more clarity back to the image. It erases everything. And then there is the eraser, which will literally erase your picture. And if I just go right down the picture, as you can see, I just erase not only the effects, but also the photo. That's everything in Repix. This app is a lot of fun. As you can see, I'm having a ball here. I mean, there's just so many possibilities, so many things you can do, and you would really impress your friends online with all the things that you can do with Repix. Thanks for tuning in for another episode of my Apple Podcast. My name is Tim Brown. Check me out next time. Love this app. Boy, this is fun. I can't wait to post this online. This is pretty cool. And I was just playing around.